friends, I am Sarah. Welcome to Grace in My Space. Today, we are gonna go on an adventure. One of my favorite things about the summer and fall seasons are that they are flea market seasons. And so I've attended some flea markets and I have captured some footage of some really fun, interesting finds all across the summer, all across the state of Michigan. And it has been a lot of fun, and I'm gonna round it up and we're gonna talk all about thrifting. Now, while I give a little bit of background on thrifting, I'm gonna arrange some flowers for you to watch instead of just watching me talk, because my mom dropped off this huge bouquet from her garden and I need to tame it. Going to flea markets, antique stores, vintage markets, antique shows, all these things is so much fun for me. I love it. There's so much to see, there's so much to find, there's so many unique things that you just won't find in a department store. And it also is really interesting to me that you are now seeing more and more antique or vintage looking items coming out in department stores, because it's starting to influence the interior design space. Things that used to be kind of old school are now being reproduced, and so it's a lot of fun to kind of see that flow into the market, but also to be able to go to these antique fairs and to these flea markets and get originals. So let me show you what I found. Now let's dive right in. So if you need a suit of armor, we've got you covered. But really, there are so many beautiful, interesting, historical things that you'll be able to find if you go to flea markets and antique shows specifically. The outdoor markets tend to have some of the most interesting finds because it's from pickers who are scouring the country to find unique things to bring to these fairs. I always search for things that have lots of character and history behind them, and I never fall short of finding them. Furniture is definitely something to be on the lookout for if you're going to these types of fairs. They just do not make furniture the same way that they used to, and there's so much character and beautiful attention to detail in these pieces. I also love to look at architectural salvage. You can use these pieces so many ways, from adding trim to your own home to creating your own design out of smaller pieces like this, where you can just come up with whatever your imagination can think of and you can put it together. You can create art or you can add it right to your home. Of course, there's always super interesting things like a legitimate teepee that you might not expect to see at an outdoor market. Now this was a fun find, and I could not pass that up. I love looking for really colorful pieces. Blankets are a great source of color at markets. Rugs are another amazing source of color, especially vintage rugs. This specific one was in some of the best shape I've seen. Even things like a volume of books. How fun are the bindings and the pages, the way that they've designed them? You just don't see that anymore. I loved this booth for the pottery and the wood pieces, and my mom is always on the search for journal pages or letters, and we came across a really fun stack of very old pieces. This advertisement caught my eye. I thought it was so pretty. You could even frame something like this. And of course, I'm always on the lookout for original vintage or antique art. Most of the time, probably 99% of the time, I cannot afford it. But every so often, I find a piece that really speaks to me, that's within budget, that I can bring home. The challenge is looking for and finding these pieces hidden amongst so many other things. Often they're put really up high so that you can't really see them very well, so you have to have an eye for art. If you're not looking for these pieces, it's really easy to miss them. I fell in love with some of these extremely textural paintings. These oils were incredible. Whoever the artist was so talented. Of course, I'm not going to be able to buy a $900 painting, but somebody will get to enjoy it. Even little teeny pieces like this are great to look out for, especially in a sea of so many other things that can catch your eye. This antique bed had incredible detail. It was only $15. And if you need some fancy pickles, Henry Whitchert's got you covered. I love looking at pieces for the kitchen because you can usually still use these pieces even if they are antique or vintage, as long as the glaze is done well and there's no chips or cracks. Or you could just use them for things like holding onions or garlic or something dry on your countertop. This schoolhouse pendant was massive. The video does no justice to it. It was so beautiful, and if I had a taller space in my home, I would have gotten it. There are even interesting things like a hollowed out tree trunk that they used as bowls, or these factory racks that you could use as shoe storage in your mudroom, or as a display rack in a dining room or a kitchen. Take a look at some of these cabinets. They were incredible, and there was a lot of them. This child's bed was so beautiful. It's hand painted, dated 1905, has 2 different names on it, which I don't know if it meant that it was twins or if it's a first and middle name, but it was a really cool, unique piece. Like I mentioned before, I have a thing for wood bowls and crocks or pottery, so this booth particularly caught my eye. It had some unique looking items with good coloring and good condition, and it had some really beautiful antique wood bowls, which were likely used for dough bowls or just for every day in the kitchen. This one had great detailing on that carved edge, and there was a huge selection of other wood bowls and pottery pieces as well. I saw this chair, and while it's completely outside of my personal style, you have to appreciate that detail. That is absolutely stunning woodwork, and I just loved how unique and how intricate it was. I thought that these old cards would be so cute, framed and hung in a nursery or a playroom. And if you have seen any of my past thrifting videos, you might know that I collect leather horses. Guess what I found? Another animal. And if you have any interest, Oxford makes the most beautiful toilets you've ever seen. This booth always has some of the most authentic and beautiful pottery pieces. Never can afford them, but you know what? They're really pretty to look at. I love the depth of this painting, and it's just so beautifully done. And my mom on the other side found another smaller oil painting that was just as stunning. Now, while I do not like any of these big pieces of furniture for their style, they're definitely too intricate for me. You have to appreciate the craftsmanship of them. They are absolutely stunning, and really you just don't find pieces like that anymore. I fell in love with this rug. It was so beautiful and I loved the colors, but of course it was out of my price range. You often find at least 1 or 2 booths that have nautical items. This was an old buoy, and it was right next to a ship's wheel, and then there were all kinds of other nautical items throughout the booth, which is really fun if you have a beach house or a coastal house. Let me quickly show you where I put that beautiful painting, and then I'll show you my finds. So this is my haul from today's flea market run. We have a lot of randomness. I always get some fresh foods, some onions, some green beans, some potatoes, but I also found some goodies. So first up, I got this beautiful bowl.
It is in amazing condition, which I very rarely find at flea markets around me. Usually they're cracked or they have a lot of wear and tear, they're chipped, they're discolored, but this one is basically perfect. It is marked, but I can't really see it. Honestly, markings matter to a lot of people, but they don't really matter to me unless I'm looking for specific pieces like McCoy's or other things that I tend to collect. I really only look at, is it gonna be useful and is it gonna be pretty? Now, I was not planning to go and buy a bunch of bowls, but when you find a set of 3 for $3, you buy it. Here's my next piece. I got this really cute little piece of pottery, perhaps tea. Not really sure. It's handmade. Even has the marking, 1955. I'm determining whether or not I like the color or if I want to DIY it and paint it. So leave it in the comments. What would you do? As is, or give it a little update. And then here is my last find for today. This is an old whiskey bottle, but I thought it was cute because it's shaped like a house. I couldn't tell if you could see it or not, but you see how it's got the house? And then there are also markings here and here, but I thought it would be really cute for Christmas, like a little Christmas village, because it's already in the shape of a house and it's got kind of that moody amber color. So another fun find. Next time you're in Michigan, make sure and hit up some of my favorite fairs, which I have listed for you in the description. And if you're looking for a place to stay, the Haven Cottage is always available. Check out our Airbnb down below. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed just seeing some beautiful treasures that I found all throughout these last few months. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and we will see you next time.